everybody, and welcome back to the channel. First, I did get a haircut today. This is my hair down. I usually wear it up, but that's because it's so long. And I am used to wearing my hair up. I have been wearing my hair up for as long as I can remember. I have had long hair for as long as I can remember now, for years. So, yeah. Change and I do not really go together very well. In this video, I'm going to be talking about what life is like for Rob and I, and what we struggle with in terms of autism and anxiety and stuff like that. Now, it's almost April, which is actually Autism Month. There's going to be a different video about that. Now, I do most of the talking on camera because I got used to it. I had to force myself to do it. In the beginning, I could not do this at all. I would freeze up. Over time, I've gotten used to doing it, so I'm able to do it. I still stumble over words sometimes. I freeze sometimes. I repeat myself a lot. And sometimes I have to think, so I take pauses. Rob has a hard time spitting things out sometimes on camera, so that's why he has me do the intros and outros for him a lot of times. It's just easier for me to do that part of the video. And he also has a stutter sometimes, especially when he's ordering food in restaurants and fast foods. Sometimes he won't be able to spit out what he wants to order, and sometimes he stutters, so I can stutter as well sometimes, especially if I'm talking too fast. Like I said, if I get super nervous, I either can't say anything at all, or I talk really fast. And so my words will sometimes slur together, or I'll stutter. Sometimes I can't even spit words out. Like, I know what I want to say, but sometimes I can't get my mouth to say it. I just freeze up. Anyway, I've had that problem all my life. But it can be difficult. And like I said, I'm trying to think of what I want to say. So I was thinking about it last night as I was watching the video. I had all these thoughts, and then I tend to forget thoughts after a while, so it might take a second. But I knew exactly what I wanted to say last night, but I was doing other things, so I kind of put it in the back of my mind, and when I do that, I forget. And for me, because I am a female, we don't get diagnosed nearly as much as males do. Growing up in the 90s, I heard it was normal for girls to be hyper. I heard the word hyper so much. You know, girls didn't have autism and ADHD. Well, we did, but it wasn't nearly as diagnosed as now. Some, but so I guess I kind of suffered in silence, I guess. Like, for me, I'll just freeze up on certain things and completely shut down. And I just won't be able to do anything. Sometimes I get so nervous that I start laughing. And sometimes I can only spit out like one or two words. I used to be extremely shy where I wouldn't be able to say anything. I at some point probably do have selective mutism. Or I just can't spit anything out. I can get so nervous where it just happens, depending on the subject or what's happening. And cannot stand high-pitched noises. I remember one time we were having a fire drill in high school. My high school is 2 floors. And we would get so bottlenecked trying to get down the steps. If it had been an actual fire, I don't know what happened because there were so many of us. But anyway, we would get so bottlenecked that we would like stop and go, stop and go. So there was one point where we had stopped and I had gotten right underneath one of the fire alarms. Woo! That hurt. It was so screechy loud. Anyway. And I cannot stand things like nails on a chalkboard. And then, I don't know what happened to my car. This was years ago. When we were living in Florida, because it wasn't my car at first. Something got on it. I think it was like motor oil or something, and we could not get it off. So, for whatever reason, my mom liked to scrape with her fingernails, and ugh, hate that. It's like, like, ugh. And I don't like people watching me eat. I could get so self-conscious, and I'm like, what are you looking at? Anyway, there's like certain noises and certain textures that I just do not like. And there's certain things that Rob doesn't like either. Excuse the plain. Like, he doesn't like high-pitched noises either. And I get really jumpy sometimes, where it's like I'm always on alert or something. I will jump randomly. And I have the hardest time with eye contact. But I was never diagnosed with anything. Rob was diagnosed with autism when he was 13. And I never knew that there is an actual math learning disability. I never knew that until recently. It's called dyscalculia. Never knew that. That was the one subject I always had problems with. I barely passed geometry in 10th grade. I had to go all these different types of, I had to go to math tutoring. I had to go to summer school for math after 6th grade, or I wouldn't have gone into 7th grade because I failed. I am terrible at math. I can't do math in the head. I can't do math if you put me on the spot. I can't do much if you put me on the spot. I don't like being put on the spot. But there are just things that, and I never knew until recently that was actually, there was an actual math learning disability. Never knew. And then there are things that just started making sense when they were pointed out as autistic traits. I've been rocking back and forth since I was like 2 years old. I have it on home movies that my grandma took. We got them transferred from the VHS to DVDs, and I have it. So, I've been doing that for years. Back then, it was just seen as cute, you know? Of course, there are times where I'd be told to calm down when I got overly excited about something. And a lot of times it was just brushed off as a phase or a game, like I'd grow out of it. So, I always hated doing group projects in school because I was very rarely picked for a group, and then we got to pick our groups. So I was always like the last one. I had to be put into a group, and it was extremely awkward. And I have a hard time asking for help. I just can't do it. When I'm in a store, I prefer by myself when I'm shopping, because then I can actually look, you know, and not be judged. Because one time, Lana and I, we were in a Marshall's or TJ Maxx, and they had a table of Funko Pops, and all I did was look that direction, and she had to make a comment. You don't need any more of those. I wasn't even thinking about buying anything. I was just looking. I wanted to see what was over there. You know, so when I'm by myself, I can actually look and not be judged. But also, I tend to get tunnel vision when I'm at stores. I'm like, I have a list. I know what I'm going to look at. I know what I'm going to get. And then I'm going to get out of there. So I get really thirsty after that, too. And so I try not to get distracted, because it can get really loud in the stores, especially when they blast their music. But anyway, I have a hard time I used to be able to do shop with me's. A lot of the times we would do voiceovers because most of the time it was because the music in my stores was just very loud and, copyright and stuff. So I had to. But I would freeze up. I wouldn't be able to speak on camera because I always feel awkward having to wear this microphone in a store with all these people walking around. And I keep thinking like they're looking at me, and, it's hard to get that kind of thought out of my head. And the other thing I always would get in my head was, you're going to get in trouble. And so I have a hard time getting myself to do shop with me now because I just automatically freeze up when I try. I want to be able to. I'm hoping that I'll get myself to be able to do it again, but we'll see. And, Rob used to be really shy as well. It's harder for us in some aspects. For me, when it comes to commenting on videos, I have a hard time doing it because I just feel awkward sometimes. And a lot of times I end up repeating myself a lot. So I start overthinking the comment on, and what should I say? Because sometimes YouTube will flag it as spam if you say the same thing too much. So, anyway. And then in group chats, I always feel like I'm interrupting. I never really felt like I fit in anywhere. It's hard. And a lot of what I like can be seen by some people, and is seen by some people as childish. And then there are things that I like that a certain person says it's for boys. Girls shouldn't like that. We should just be wearing dresses and heels and all that kind of stuff. That's not me. Plus, I can't balance very well. I'd probably fall trying to wear heels right now. That's going to take a little bit of practice if I were to ever wear those type of shoes. And I'm going to admit it, I never learned how to ride a bike. I tried many times. When I was growing up, I had the coolest purple bike. Trying in the front yard of the house I grew up in. Except every time I fall, my dad would freak out because he had anxiety too, bad. He was on just about any type of anxiety and depression med you can think of. So, yeah, he's also an alcoholic. But yeah, it's like, then because he would freak out, it would get through my head, oh, you're going to fall, that's going to hurt. And I didn't want to get hurt, so I would refuse to try again. Then, of course, the other times I tried, the bikes were huge and I'm short, so it made me feel like I was up way high, and that when I would fall farther down and it would hurt more. So I was like, I didn't want to fall, that was the problem. But if I'm ever going to learn anything, which I hope to eventually learn how to ride a bike, the bike would have to be more my size. So I could actually get my feet on the ground. That was the problem. The bikes were so big that I couldn't touch the ground. There was no way to brace myself. Anyway. So. And. Yeah. It's just. And then my mind goes blank sometimes when I'm trying to think of what to say. But. It's hard. Again with the planes. Well, anyway. We don't have a lot of friends. Which is hard. We tend to overshare sometimes without realizing it. Because that's the way we know to get to know someone. Like for me, I have to share about myself because if I see something that I can relate to someone with, as also, from myself, then it's easier to talk for me. And so, a lot of times I just don't know what to say, so I'm always in the background. And so I end up feeling invisible, which I have felt invisible a lot over my life. Anyway. But that's kind of what we deal with, being shy and such. And, you know, it's hard when you grow up the way I did grow up, and what you deal with and how you are is basically played off as a game or a phase, and you're going to grow out of it. And, you know, there's a lot of denial going on there, so I was never actually tested for anything, really. You know, it was obvious, but... And then my mom would literally tell me to mask. There's a cat. Don't jump on the table. You're going to knock the camera over. Sorry. Then went the cat and knocked the camera over. But yeah, she would tell me to mask sometimes. Like, be someone else and not your actual self so you can get through this. I guess be more professional. I'm not really sure. You know? I always just wanted to be my true self and be accepted and not judged. I got made fun of a lot, so I had to hide a lot. And growing up as an only child, I didn't really have anyone to talk to. You know? Because I had a few friends that went with my next door neighbors. I mean, I grew up in rural Virginia, so there was a lot of outside time. But that's why I had journals. And I had extremely vivid imagination. Because it's kind of all I had. So I had to keep a lot of stuff to myself. And then more recently, having to live with someone who is very judgmental, for starters. You know, I've had to walk around on eggshells pretty much every day because I never knew what mood this person was going to be in. So, yeah. But anyway, it's hard. And hoping that at some point this year I'll be able to move and be with Rob. He'll come down and we'll drive my car back with the most important stuff in the car anyway. I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of my stuff yet. We're going to figure that out. But we have a letter. We're going to try and get to my mom on Wednesday. It's hard living with someone who makes you feel like you're not allowed to do stuff, you know, and who goes back and forth. It's very confusing because one minute she's acting like, because we'll be with someone who's talking about one of their kids moving out, and then she'll be looking at me like, why are you not moving out and do something and all this kind of stuff. Well, at the same time, I get told you're never getting married, you have to take care of us and push us around in wheelchairs, and it's very confusing. And a lot unfair. Because I have dreams, and I want a life of my own, and coming up at the end of October, my favorite actress and my favorite actor are going to be at the Cincinnati Comic Expo. I really, really hope I will be there by then, because I would give anything to be there at the Comic Expo, because it's like one of the number one dreams on my bucket list. And I always wanted to go to Comic-Con, and I remember we were driving by, and I was in the back seat. My mom was driving, my godmother was in the passenger seat, and we were driving by the Virginia Beach Convention Center around the time of the Tidewater Comic-Con. All these people were, you know, in their cosplays, walking in and stuff, and of course there was plenty of females, and I just heard my godmother say, that's for boys, and I just remember kind of slinking down in the back seat, kind of, because that was one of my biggest dreams. It's hard to bring stuff up when the stuff you like gets made fun of. You know? Anyway, so that's pretty much how life is for us, and why I have to do a lot of the talking in the videos, the intros and outros. It's sometimes hard for Rob to spit the words out. He's getting better. I've been like that myself. Like I said before, I've had to force myself to be able to do cameras and stuff, because there was a time where I just couldn't do it at all. I would completely freeze up. So, yeah. So that's what we wanted you to know in this video. And we hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like, subscribe, comment. Don't forget to hit the little bell icon so you know next video is coming out. And as always, all of our social media will be in the description box below. And thank you for watching.